ambush, their sensors lit with alarms. Shadows stretched across their stars. At first they thought it was debris. Then they realized it was ships, hundreds, thousands, formations so tight and disciplined the stars themselves seemed eclipsed. Human warships did not announce themselves with flair or arrogance. They arrived like executioners, quiet, precise, cold. The Chordal admirals panicked. Orders screamed across their channels. They tried to form defensive lines, but Earth's fleets were already inside their perimeter. Railguns fired. Beams lanced across the void. The first Chordal carrier split apart, its glowing core spilling into space like a ruptured star. Another fell before its shields even raised. It was not an ambush. It was extermination. The Retaliation had arrived before the Chordal even realized they were prey. Fire that blotted out suns. The scale of destruction was biblical. Entire human squadrons moved in silence, striking with such speed the Chordal's advanced comms could not keep up. Their fleets broke apart like glass under a hammer. Planetary fortresses they thought impregnable vanished under saturation bombardments, humans cracking crust and mantle alike until the ground itself burned. On one world, Chordal soldiers lined their cities, laughing at the thought of repelling civilized humans. They stopped laughing when the sky itself turned red. From orbit, human kinetic weapons rained down, each strike carving valleys of molten glass. To survivors, it was as if Earth had commanded the wrath of the cosmos itself. The Retaliation was not merely military. It was cultural erasure. The Chordal's war songs fell silent. Their victory feasts turned to mass graves. Every boast they had made about human weakness was answered with annihilation louder than any words. The galaxy watched in frozen horror. The humans were not just avenging, they were cleansing. The climax of retribution. The last Chordal flagship stood surrounded by debris fields littered with their dead. Its admiral, once so confident, sent desperate calls for help across the stars. We underestimated them. We were wrong. Humanity is not what. The message cut short as a human dreadnought emerged from warp, so massive it cast a shadow over the flagship like a world blotting out a sun. Its weapons charged. The admiral's plea was drowned in a single flash that split the void. Nothing remained. The Retaliation was total. Every Chordal fleet that had taken part in the ambush was eradicated, their supply lines severed, their homeworld threatened. The Chordal's empire, once so arrogant, was reduced to whispers and ashes in less than a cycle. The aftermath, a whispered fear. When silence finally returned to the stars, it was not peace, it was dread. The survivors of the Chordal, scattered refugees, broken fleets, spoke only one warning to anyone who would listen. Never provoke Earth again. The galaxy trembled at the realization. Humanity's patience was vast, yes. They would negotiate, they would forgive, they would seek peace. But their vengeance, once awakened, was infinite. It did not matter where you hid, how strong you thought you were, or how carefully you planned your ambush. Humanity would arrive first. Humanity would retaliate before you even realized you had crossed the line. And when they arrived, their silence was more terrifying than any war cry. The stars themselves seemed to remember. Whole sectors avoided Earth's gaze. Treaties were signed without question. Armies stood down at the mere rumor of a human fleet mobilizing. The legend was sealed, the Retaliation that arrived before the next strike. The message written across every wreck, every ruined fortress, every silence left in the wake of fire was clear. Humanity is slow to anger, but unstoppable in vengeance. And the galaxy would never forget it. The Ryloth Dominion thought of themselves as masters of the silent kill. For centuries, they had thrived not through open war but through ambushes, surgical strikes in the dark of space, tearing down rivals before they ever had the chance to rise. When their council spoke of humans, they laughed. Humanity was called the Talkers, a race too burdened with treaties, diplomacy, and sentimental oaths. The Dominion admired humanity's rapid spread across the stars but saw their restraint as weakness. They mistook patience for cowardice. So when the human envoy ship Aurora drifted into neutral territory with its escort, the Ryloth gathered their predators. Hidden ships slithered into position, their engines cold, hulls camouflaged against starlight. "Strike swiftly, before Earth even knows what happened," said Warlord Jal, his mandibles clattering with amusement. "The envoy's death will ripple across their colonies. Fear will do the rest." The Ryloth fleet fell upon the Aurora and its escort like wolves on lambs. Human signals flared in confusion, protests screamed over comms, but they were silenced in minutes. The envoy ship, carrying diplomats and civilians, burned bright against the void before collapsing into ash. The aliens laughed as debris scattered. They left no survivors, no evidence but wreckage. The Ryloth believed themselves untouchable. Arrogance dressed as triumph. In their War Council chamber, the Dominion toasted their success. "The humans will mourn. They will send words, not weapons," Jal declared, raising a cup carved from the bone of a past victim. "Their vengeance will be ink, not fire." Others mocked humanity further. Some imitated the slow drawl of Earth's diplomats. Others sneered about the fragility of human colonies. They spoke of Earth's compassion as though it were a disease. One strategist hissed, "Already whispers spread in the border systems. If Earth cannot defend its own envoys, what power do they truly hold? Their colonies will crumble with fear alone." Laughter filled the chamber. But beneath the galaxy's laughter, silence brewed. The humans had spoken no words yet. Their fleets had not moved. No broadcasts were sent. That silence was not weakness, it was calculation. Still, the Ryloth convinced themselves of victory. They sharpened their claws for the next strike, not knowing their time was already over. The silence before the tempest. The first sign was not fire, it was absence. Ryloth trade convoys stopped reporting in. Outposts at the edge of their space went silent. A research station, positioned in a hidden nebula, transmitted a garbled signal before disappearing entirely. At first the Dominion dismissed it. Pirates, malfunctions, coincidence. But then came the message. A single transmission, broad spectrum, undeniable. A voice of iron. "This is Earth Command. You struck first. You silenced our envoys. Now we answer." The message played across every known channel, echoing through Dominion space, replayed by frightened merchants and trembling allies. It was not shouted. It was calm, deliberate. That made it worse. Sensors on Ryloth border worlds detected massive energy signatures entering their systems. Not small fleets, not escorts, armadas. The Dominion had always believed humans lacked the will to retaliate. But when the human war fleets emerged, they were unlike anything imagined. Dreadnoughts larger than cities, carriers releasing swarms of warships that spread like locusts, automated drones whispering signals of death in every tongue. The galaxy trembled, Earth was moving. Retaliation unleashed. The humans did not strike blindly. Their fleets moved with surgical precision, targeting the Dominion's ambush fleets first. Every ship that had taken part in the attack on the Aurora was hunted, cornered, and obliterated. The Ryloth had hidden their vessels in asteroid belts, behind moons in deep orbit shadows. It did not matter. The human fleet swept through with an eerie silence, their weapons not firing until the last second, their engines glowing like burning suns. Ryloth's ships fired desperately, scattering like insects, but the retaliation was absolute. Human dreadnoughts fired beams that cut ships in half, railgun salvos that shattered fleets, missile storms that turned armadas into fireworks of molten metal. One by one, the ambush predators were devoured by the very tactics they had used for centuries. Then came Earth soldiers. On occupied colonies, human dropships fell like meteors, their hulls glowing red as they cut through atmospheres. Troops clad in armor that glimmered like obsidian stormed Ryloth garrisons. There were no negotiations, no mercy, only cold retribution. The Dominion's warriors, bred for intimidation, found themselves dwarfed. The humans moved like storms, silent until the final strike, efficient as executioners. Entire fortresses were reduced to rubble within hours. Every Dominion broadcast of victory was answered by Earth's silence, then by the sight of another city burning. Fire across the stars. The climax came not from one battle, but from many. At Jarn Prime, the Dominion's largest fleet assembled, 300 warships, colossal flagships that had cowed rivals for centuries. Their admirals roared defiance, broadcasting threats across the system. But when the humans arrived, the sun itself seemed to darken. The human fleet numbered in the thousands. Ships of every design, drawn from Earth and her colonies, surged forward. Some were so massive they blotted out orbital stations. Others moved with terrifying speed, vanishing into slipspace only to emerge within firing range. The battle